Let's keep it moving here. Joel Bitonio,
Yes, sir.
kind of a under-the-radar story over the weekend, has his contract restructured. The Browns will save $8 million worth of cap space. Do you guys think this has anything to do with the Browns looking to make another move here? Or I don't think so. They save $7.86 million to be exact, 868. I don't know what move they're making at this point, but I don't know. Is it cap space just for this year and lowered the cap hits in 20?
So the exact numbers. So by converting the salary to a bonus this year, they saved the $7.868 million this season. They also lowered the cap hits next year by $1.5 and $2 million.
Okay.
So it brings it down a tiny bit. And as it stands right now, as of today, on August 21st, the Browns have $22.7 million in cap space. That is the second most in the NFL currently.
Right. Remember, though, the more cap space you have, the more that it rolls over to the following year. So it's not just this year. But go ahead. You think I don't know what kind of significant move is left to make at this point.
I mean, there's two ways to look at it. I think that, my first way of looking at it is this is Andrew Berry playing a long game. This is him setting himself up with some type of security blanket for next offseason. There might be a unrestricted free agent next season that the Browns might really have their eye on, and they may be very well preparing themselves for that now. Or the other part of it is I always go back to Andrew Berry's initial press conference at the Greenbrier, and he talked about assessing the team that he put together in April, assessing the team throughout camp, and then assessing the team before you go to the regular season. So the other part of it could be there might be a trade target out there that he's trying to execute, and he wanted to open up more cap space so that he can take on that contract without actually using up all the available cap space that they have now. But either way, I think it's a good move for the Browns, whether it's in the long term or in the short term. So I just think it gives him some long-term flexibility and then some immediate flexibility to make a move to get an impact player if that what he so happens chooses to do before we head into Cincinnati.
Hard to get an impact player this time of the year, G. You think that's what he's trying to do?
Man, it off kilter if somebody get hurt. That might be it, but I think this was what it is. See, I think Joel Bitonio played better than usually people look at the age of 30, right? They look to see if you're going to fall off a cliff. Well, guess what? They're like, well, he's still playing at a high level. I don't see that changing. Let's keep the good offensive line together, save some money. They're going to do the same thing to Wyatt Teller. Hey, dog, we like you. We think you're playing well. If he has a bounce back year, I think they'll do some of the same exact stuff right here, and they'll get a little bit more money. Save $7.868 million in cap space. Well, guess what else is going to save them? There's no way, and you know what, that Jedrick Wills will be a tackle next year. DeJuan Jones has gotten much too much press. He's played way too well, and he's on what is he? He was a fourth-round pick? He's getting a fourth-round pick.
No money.
No money.
Yeah.
Jedrick Wills is already getting $15 million.
Yeah.
So that's another $15 million that can come off the books. You plug and play DeJuan Jones. Then you look at it like this. I think they might be able to get out of the. I think McNuggets mentioned this. The David Njoku contract, they believe that they can get out of the David Njoku contract next year without a huge cap hit.
No, I think it was the Ethan Poch's contract because it's a 3-year deal.
It's Pochich is a 1-year deal essentially with 2 years
right.
of bonus.
So that's the contract. But I mean, I agree to what you're saying. Like, the Browns, especially if they hit on some of these undrafted free agents and then some of these draft picks, right? Then now all of a sudden you don't have to pay top dollar to two guards. You don't have to pay top dollar to this position or that position. So
that's a big if, though.
It's a big if for not just this team, that's for any team. But to me, you got to have cap space for numerous reasons. Like I said, I get it at this point of the offseason, heading into the regular season. It's hard to make an impact move for a player, but never say never. You put yourself in position to be able to do that. You put yourself in a position to be able to make a move before the trade deadline. You put yourself in position to set yourself up for next year. I think any good GM can do two things. You can stay in present day with your current team, but you can also plan for the future at the same time.
Is Andrew Berry a good GM?
I think so.
I think
is that proven?
I think Andrew Berry is good at two things. I think Andrew Berry is exceptional at getting trades. I think he's very good at free agency. Where he struggles a bit is his draft picks. His middle round picks have not hit so far, right? But I will say, all of it goes into it. Every coach isn't great at everything, right? You could be a great offensive coordinator, but you really don't do a really good job of developing anybody, right? So I think that he's done a great job of covering up for some of his weaknesses, because for every guy that you got on here, look at his receiving core. Donovan Peoples-Jones is number 2 guy, right? He was 6th, 7th round pick. This Austin Watkins Jr., he looks like he's a ball player. They got him off the scrap heap. You take a look at some of the trades they made. Elijah Moore was a trade.
These things we don't know. They haven't we haven't seen it yet.
Yes, but it looks like we like him so far.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
But they got to prove and pay dividends. Now this is the year where it's going to tell whether or not he's a good GM, because he's made all these moves to rebuild this roster.
Right. To me, I'm not ready to say he's a good GM yet.
I am.
He hasn't proven. He hasn't proven. His drafts are subpar.
I am. I'm gonna tell you why.
But would you agree his drafts are subpar?
His drafts has been subpar, but that's not the only way that you can go about evaluating talent. So if we look at the totality of how you evaluate or how you gather talent in the NFL, you do it 3 ways: free agency, trade, draft. Okay, and so to me, the draft picks have been subpar. He has not hit on every single draft pick. We know that. But on the flip side, he's done a great job, in my opinion, the last couple of years, finding undrafted free agents that can have an impact on his team. He does a great job in the trade market, finding guys that can come in and have an impact on this team. He does a great job, for the most part, in free agency, finding guys. I thought
who are the undrafted free agents that have made an impact?
Just look at the guys that's making an impact so far this preseason. But wait, I'm not done. But not only that, it's deeper than just gathering talent. If you look across the league, Andrew Berry has hired guys and women that has now went on to gain promotional jobs across the NFL and other areas. And so wait, I'm not done. No, I'm not done. I got to finish this point.
I got to jump in. I got to jump in on what you said. You said they've turned undrafted free agents into impact players. I don't think there's any examples of that. Is there that I'm missing?
I will have to go through it, but if you look at, let's stay current day, right? You got some guys that were not drafted that looks like they can make an impact on this team.
But you look at the trade.
But you look at the trade. You look at how he brings in talent via trade. All I'm saying is, and it's not like every draft pick has been bad.
What's the talent he's brought in through trade? Give me the good trades.
Ethan Pochik, for example, last year. Just
that was
for
a good
example,
move.
last year. So wait, and then you look at the fact that he might not have hit on his draft picks.
Yeah.
But in the same time, it's not like we've had many draft picks because of the trade we made for Deshaun Watson. I'm just saying that, to me, it's a lot that goes into being a good GM. And I feel like Andrew Berry is a good GM in its totality.
I don't think you've really given a good example.
But we can't just say, his drafts has been subpar, so he's not a good GM. But
what has
that's
he
not
done
the
to
deciding
make up
factor.
for it? You said undrafted free agents. There's nobody to this point.
There's 2 undrafted free agents since Andrew Berry's here that have made the roster.
Who?
AJ Green, the cornerback.
No impact.
And then in 2021, D'Anthony Bell, the safety.
Yeah, so they've had none of the undrafted free agents to this point have made an impact.
I'll give you this. To me, I got him he's above average. I haven't made above.
See that yet?
And the reason why I say above average is because yes, you missed on Schwartz, you missed on Bell. Some say you missed on Harrison Bryant. Some could say that you missed on what's the kid from Washington? The center.
It's not even just to me, the draft picks. It's that the team hasn't won. Okay. That's the bottom line.
That's a part.
That's the bottom line. The team hasn't won. The Deshaun Watson. I love the Deshaun Watson trade. I think it's going to work out, but if it doesn't, that's on him.
So here's why I will say, when you say trades.
Yeah.
One of his biggest trades, he got Amari Cooper for free. That's huge.
Great trade.
Huge trade. He got Zadarius Smith for free. Huge trade.
Wasn't that a free agent signing?
No, they traded for Zadarius Smith, and even though he hasn't played yet, that's a win on paper.
That's
a win on paper.
It's not huge yet because he hasn't played yet.
You got to look at it. Most people would say that Zadarius Smith is going to be a great player for the Browns.
There's a reason the team gave him away.
Because they had no money.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook.
I'm just saying, we can't call a move a great move until it's proven to be a great move.
But if he got him for free, like if you tell me I could get him for free, you be like, oh, listen, that 32-inch TV may not be 1480p. It may not be, but it's only 720. But you get it for $20.
Poach's trade was a great trade.
Poach's trade. So
Cooper was a great trade.
Cooper was a great trade.
At the end of the day, and I want to get back to Bitonio here because we're kind of getting sidetracked.
Yeah.
If Deshaun Watson turns out to be really good, we could look at Andrew Berry and be like, he's made some moves that have led to winning. If Deshaun Watson doesn't turn out to be very good.
If Watson ends up being the player we expect him to be, then that overcomes the mistakes he's made. But to this point, I mean, at best, you put Andrew Berry middle of the pack.
Yeah, I would say that.
You can't put him ahead of any of the other GMs in this division at this point.
I would say that's why I say above average. But he has everything about the Browns this year has a ceiling, right? Everything in the Browns has a higher upside, right? Because now we have him, middle of the road when it comes to evaluating talent or general manager. But guess what? If their players play to what they traditionally have done, the Browns have a really high ceiling to say, wow, they guys made some crazy moves. Because guess what? They have the guys on paper. They got the guys. Like the guys that they brought in. Dalvin Tomlinson, he's a guy. Listen, I like Thornhill. He has good pedigree. Listen, they've done some things. They've even done a good job of going to get the defensive coordinator, who I think will make a lot of people better. But I could understand both sides. I can understand you saying, no, he's a good GM because I'm projecting those players to be good, and they have been.
If you think some of these guys from this year that are undrafted and they make an impact this year, that's a great job. But
it's not just that. It's not just that. Like, you're saying that Zadarius Smith hasn't proven it, but Zadarius Smith was traded for because he has proven it to this point in his career.
Correct. So, but the reason the Vikings gave up on him because obviously they couldn't pay.
No, they traded him because they couldn't pay him.
The same Dalvin Cook.
It wasn't like the other teams were banging down their door.
I'm not saying that I'm not worried about other teams. But I'm saying the Minnesota Vikings couldn't afford it.
You can't say a trade is good until you know it's good for your team.
But in my opinion, it's a good trade for our team because this is projecting. It's a good trade for our team because this is a guy that can play opposite of Myles Garrett, and based on his recent history success, then we're projecting him to have success.
Agreed.
Everything is projection, though.
No, it's not.
Anytime that you acquire a player via free agency, via draft, or via trade,
agreed.
Everything is a projection.
But so far, what he's done the last 3 years, we already have some proof on the field. And based on what he's done in his first 3 years as GM, what he's done this offseason, we all like what he's done on paper, and we like the upside of this team. But what he's done in the first 3 years as GM, to me, is at best an average job. What he's done this offseason, we like it, but there are things I'm sure we all liked last year that didn't turn out.
The Zadarius Smith move was such a low-risk, high-reward move.
What's that?
The Zadarius Smith trade was such a low-risk, high-reward move that even if Zadarius Smith does half of what he did last season, production-wise, which would be 5 sacks, giving up a 6th-round pick for a guy who can contribute.
But that wasn't like some great. It wasn't like a brilliant move by Andrew Berry that you know what I mean. Like
I think it was. If you could get,
I'm with these guys in this one, Bull.
All right,
I'll give you. So I'll give you the Zadarius. If we make you happy,
the Shelby Harris move was great. Shelby Harris was one of the top-ranked defensive linemen, and he got him for a 1-year free agent deal. Dalvin Tomlinson was their best free agent. I'll give him this. I'll give him this. I was mad at Andrew Berry last year because I said he punted on the season. And when you look at what he did, the Browns organization did. They didn't bring in any receivers. They didn't bring in any defensive linemen. They got eviscerated on defense. And guess what? They looked at themselves in the mirror and said, you know what, we better get this fixed.
And the reason they've had to spend so much in free agency is because all the mistakes in the draft.
And they made a lot of mistakes with Togi. Taven Bryant wasn't a good signing. Jordan Elliott looks like he's not bringing anything to the table.
Nope.
The Jadeveon Clowney thing fell apart last year. Trust me, like all those moves are there. Like I said, I got him right now at above average. I would call it a B-. B-, C+, anywhere in that area.
Yeah.
But if those guys show up and play, especially the 1-year guys, and Deshaun Watson comes out and does his part, I think that he could catapult himself into a new contract just like Stefanski can.
Absolutely.
And it's not like I'm making it seem like Andrew Berry is the greatest GM in the NFL. All I said was I think he's a good general manager.
I think you got to have a winning record. Don't you have to have a winning record to be a good general manager? No.
I mean, you can only do what you can do. So let's just use this one particular player, for example, right? when at the time the Cleveland Browns signed John Johnson to come play safety, John Johnson, according to PFF, was the 3rd highest rated safety in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, his intention as a general manager as signing him, I'm getting a guy that can help the Browns defense. But Andrew Berry can't control what Joe Woods' assignment is for said player.
But that's the same thing for every player on every team.
That's the same thing for every player on every team.
He's on your record.
So I guess what I'm saying is you're making my point.
Yeah.
That's a good signing that just didn't work out. It didn't work out. It didn't work out because it was a bad signing.
No, it was a bad signing because it didn't work out.
It didn't work out because he wasn't used properly.
I don't buy that.
See, I'm back on both sides here. I was on Earl and G.
No.
I'm back on both with that last
The guy doesn't work out. It's a bad signing. That's it.
But is it a bad signing because the guy at that time was not worth the contract that he was given to come play here, or did it end up being a bad signing because the defensive coordinator did not put him in a position to have success?
Well,
I think it's on Berry to have the conversation with Joe Woods to know how he plans on using him.
I disagree, Mike. That's on Kevin Stefanski. That's Andrew Berry stepping outside of his lane.
Let me ask you, who decides on the defensive coordinator? Is it the head coach or the GM?
Should be the head coach. He puts together the coaching staff.
I mean,
it should be the head coach. I don't know who it is.
The head
it
coach.
should be the
Who
head
knows
coach.
for sure what it is with the Browns?
Well, if he's not being put in the right position, that falls on Kevin Stefanski.
John Johnson's just not a good player. I mean, let's face it.
I don't think he's a very good player.
Yeah.
However, I will say this. That's why I'm anxious to see this season.
Yeah.
Because I want to see you will now this year get an opportunity to see whether or not it was the players last year, or was it a situation with the defensive coordinator? My thing is, I believe it was a defensive coordinator. I don't think John Johnson is a top 5 player at this position. However, some of the things that they were doing last year had me looking around like, and when they said that about the Bengals, and they told me that they had a much harder time because Jamar Chase T. Higgins wasn't playing. I said, what do you mean? That's one of their guys down. What do you mean? Actually, it was worse for us, G. Bush. We had a guy out of the game. And I said, bro, I started looking at them all different at that point. Now, we'll get an opportunity to see it, but there is a thing. One hand washes the other. To be a good general manager, you have to have a great head coach. To have a good head coach, to be a good head coach and be successful, the general manager has to give you the ingredients, right? It works hand in hand. This is a year where we're going to actually have an opportunity to see, because a lot of people some people say Andrew Berry is a better general manager than at his position in his job than Stefanski is a coach.
I think they're both, till proven otherwise, mediocre, which is certainly better than what the Browns have had.
What grade would you give them? GM and the coach.
At this point, I give them both a C.
I'll give them both a B. Kevin Stefanski has already.
You gotta win.
But here's the thing. I understand that you have to.
You can't be a B if you don't win.
But boy, I'm not disagreeing with you. You do have to win.
Yeah.
But Kevin Stefanski has won at least 7 games every year.
7 games don't mean shit.
Boy, can I please finish the point?
But 7 games don't mean shit.
Can I finish the point?
You said your point was 7 games.
Can I finish the point?
Go ahead.
He's won 7 games for the Cleveland Browns since he's been the head coach. That's the most.
You're grading them on a sliding
that's
scale.
the most that no other coach has been here since '99 that can say that. He's won Coach of the Year. He took the team to the playoffs for the first time in 20 years. He's won. Has it always been the best version of winning? No. Has Andrew Berry got every single signing and draft pick right? No. But you're talking about like this year, he's been given the ingredients. Last year, he was given the ingredients. We've been walking around for 2 or 3 years saying the Browns got one of the most talented rosters in football.
Earl, you are grading him on a Brown scale.
I don't agree.
I gave him a B. I didn't give him an A.
B is a great grade. They haven't done shit.
You can't say they haven't done shit.
They won one playoff game.
But you can't say they haven't done shit. That's
one
something.
playoff game is not doing shit.
When's
not the goal.
When's the last coach to win Coach of the Year?
That's irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant because
Earl.
I'm talking about the Cleveland Browns. I'm not talking about in the landscape.
You can't compare it on a Brown scale.
NFL. Why not? What else do we got to compare it to?
Because you got to compare it to good teams.
But I'm talking about the Cleveland Browns. If I'm looking at Cleveland
for the Browns' history, it's not in
he's
the
the best coach that we done had since we done been back in '99.
That's fine.
It's the best GM we done had since we done had in '99, and they done both had success.
You don't think there's 15 GMs better than Andrew Berry in the league right now?
I don't know all the GMs to say that.
Here's what I would say.
Last point, G, then I got to move on.
I will say this. Kevin Stefanski has done some things to prove himself in the league. A lot of people think he's a great play caller. A lot of people say, well, look, when he had something, he did something with Baker Mayfield, and he did the best of his knowledge. I can't give him a B because, to me, a B means good. I need to see something more. Like, they came in last place last year. And for me, this year is a make or break because he has yet to show the consistency that we would like to see. We want to be consistently a playoff team. And when you look at, I would give him, if you told me Stefanski, I'd give Stefanski a C+. If you ask me about Barry, I would give Andrew Barry C plus-ish. Like, I can't say B. You could twist my arm and say B- based upon some of the names he has. But for me, that's still both of them was under a 2.7. That's not no that's merit roll. That's not honor roll.
Yeah.
And for me, the guys I call good are the top guys, the Shanahans of the world. I think Andy Reid is top notch. I think Mike Tomlin is top notch. I think Harbaugh. Those guys to me would exemplify what a B coach would be. C, they can move up. Like I said, there's some wiggle room there. I would be open to moving it up. They got an opportunity with the team they got to move up to a good after this season.
Yeah, I think that potential is there. I agree with you. But until they win more than one playoff game,
Okay,
as a trio, they have an overall losing record, or as a tandem, they have an overall losing record and one playoff win. It's not enough.
Last point before we move on. Yes or no answer, no more than one word each.
Yeah.
The money they opened up from restructuring Bitonio's contract, which is where this all started, will they sign another player with that money before the start of the season, or will they use it to roll over into next season? Bull, yes or no?
No.
G?
No.
No.
Earl?
No.
We're no's across the board.
Nose across the board. All right, moving on, guys.